everybody, what is up? You're listening to Sharjeel. I'm joined here with Shantanu Gupta, and we don't know the name of the show yet.
Yes.
Hopefully, hopefully that's something we will arrive at by the end of the episode, and
We hope to.
we hope
Yeah,
to.
we
We
hope
hope
to.
to. I would say we kind of don't have an option. We kind of just go with whatever comes at the
Yeah,
end.
exactly.
'cause- Yeah, and basically both of us. Hello again. We are
Hi,
starting
everyone.
this podcast plus resources plus a bunch of different things, particularly for the marketing, brand strategy,
Mhm.
business strategy space, and I just realized we should have sort of prepared a better intro, but if you listen to my other podcast, that's not something I do. Not unless I get paid, right? And right now, the agenda for us, why we are doing this, and some of the core things is something that we want to discuss in this introduction episode, just to give you guys an idea of what you guys can expect, what kind of things we're really looking forward to doing, because the thing is, both of us have between us somewhere between 10-15 years of experience roughly in the professional world, and what comes with that experience, at least for me in marketing, has been incredible. And what I really want to tell pretty much all of you guys is this is a learning journey for both of us as well, because some of the things we have planned are very learning workshop-ish oriented, where we
Yeah.
both get to practice our own skill, and that's awesome, right? So let's sort of dive right into
Cool.
this entire thing, which doesn't have a name yet.
Not a name yet, but stay tuned because by the end, probably, you should have the name. Or at least we should have the name.
We
So
should have the
I think it's more important for us to have the name before the audience does. So, yeah.
Yeah, and this is how it is. This is, I would also say, very close in real life to how marketing works.
Yeah.
Right? When you go into campaign design and campaign
Oh,
plan, you kind of know that, oh, this is what I want to accomplish. These are the things that I want to do and offer as service and products.
Yeah.
And then you have to think of an entire background thing to
Background,
it, right?
yeah.
So
I
this
think
is-
first the excitement and then the reality hits you. So I think that's the way I would put it. I don't know.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
That's why we kind of just wanted to get started, and we
Yeah.
were like, hey, we'll figure out all the name and stuff later as and when it comes. So the first thing that we sort of want to share a little bit more about is who we are, right? And I'm gonna let Shantanu take this up first. Why don't we just go over your career a little bit,
Mhm.
stuff that you find interesting, hobbies, passions, stuff like
Cool,
that.
cool. Yeah, I'll jump in. My name is Shantanu Gupta. I have my professional career started in 2014. I have been in different industries, so my career has not been a typical marketer in a way. Probably the kind you have had. But whom am I kidding? Like I've seen your career; it's been changing a lot, right? But about mine, I think I started in a SaaS-based company, which was in social media domain. Worked there as a client associate, did bunch of campaigns. I learned a lot about moderation services in terms of how listening works in social, which at that time was pretty incredible. This is 2014, not 2023, so it's like 9 years before. And I was working in India then, and wait, where are we right now? Have we even
Yeah. Oh, we're in Vancouver. We sort of didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Hello from Vancouver. Yeah, we are recording this from Vancouver, which is why the views are great. Both of us have our experiences in different parts of the world. So, yeah, that we sort of had to mention
Yeah,
that.
had to
sorry.
mention that. So yeah, so coming back to my experience, so I worked there for a couple of years and kind of learned about listening, how softwares work. I think every experience really speaks about like what you can really learn. Like any industry or any kind of job you are in, I think you should just put your head down and focus on something you're talking about today was hard work. Just keep doing it and you will bear the fruits sooner or later. Like there's no set time. So I did that. I learned about how organizations work, how early startups really work and how it can really get complex, how egos come to places when you're working even in a social space with the engineering team, how much of decision making they have the power in terms of how the product has to be. They wouldn't listen to you. So I did all that. Then we worked together. Then my next job was with you. We worked at an agency in India. That was the last job before I moved into Vancouver in India. So I think I had a lot of fun there. I learned to take care of different brands in automotive industry and in tech industry. And I was working with the clients on behalf of clients from my agency, and then used to work with you guys. We had a different team. We had a different bosses. But I think overall we were still in the same umbrella and we enjoyed working there. Came in 2019 to British Columbia and not to Vancouver, came to a city called Kamloops. Did my Bachelor of Marketing there. So did that for 2 years. I put my head down. I was very focused on I had to finish the course within 2 years, not more. So I think that really benefited me because when you really think about when you put a vision and you want to go with it, I think it really, and nobody can stop you. So I did that. In 2021, I started. I worked for a couple of months in my own university where I studied as an events marketing assistant, and from there on, I worked until recently, till this month, July this year, for more than 1.5 years. I worked at a company in IT reseller space, so I was working for them, but my clients were in US. So, did it kind of my career changed a bit because it wasn't typically marketing, but I have been understanding and learning about marketing throughout. Always, there's a passion. So yeah,
that's awesome, right? Like, and I can fully see that. I think that going into like some of the later conversations where we speak about listening trends,
yeah,
that's something you're way better at than I am, because I'm so bad at it. I barely use social these days, right? But so about me, I sort of started my career as a chef, which has nothing to do with this industry, but I'd say you learn a lot about behavior when you see people eat.
yeah,
Right? And it's also a great indication of culture. Right? You start learning a lot about culture as well with food. After that, I saw, and this is like when I was still studying culinary science and culinary arts, because every subject is both an art and science. Studying that, like, I remember I got hired by my college to be the editor of the college magazine. Right? And that's when I was like, I really enjoy writing.
yeah,
Right? Because before that, I would just write, but nothing to like write to show, right? But I started really enjoying that part where people would read what I would write and they'd praise me and I'd feel really good about myself. I was like, this is so great for my ego. I love this.
yeah.
Right? So I left the line,
Uh-huh.
got into journalism,
Wow.
because I was like, okay, might as well practice some of the writing, see what's what. And in journalism college, in my second year, I joined a startup called On Rustic Roots. The startup was run by my seniors who were third years. They were finishing third year and they were starting this company.
Okay.
And I was like the first employee. And I was the only paid employee of that company, right?
That's fancy. Yeah,
It
that
was-
gives you a lot of confidence, I guess,
it
at
does,
that time,
it
right?
does. And back then, the only skill qualification I had back then was Kritat was basically ragging us in school, or whatever that means in college, right? Again, when I say ragging, I mean, oh, come here, introduce yourself, yada yada yada.
A good kind one.
Yeah,
We're
the
not
good
talking
kind,
about
not
anything
the
which
physical
is
violin. No,
totally
no.
against it, but yeah.
Yeah, fully.
Yeah.
I don't like people touching me. Leave violence.
Okay.
But I think that speaks of different problems.
Yeah.
So basically, Kra was like, "Oh, you speak. You should know how to write. Join the team." Right? And I got my first job.
Wow.
Right? And that was.
So you did not go for your job. The
No,
job
and-
came to you.
Yeah,
That's
and
interesting. Wow.
That's the weird part, because I've seen that happen a lot of times in my career, and we'll sort of go with this.
So
right?
interesting.
So that came to me more or less, and since then I've been a very entrepreneurial person, right? Because the first time I had to like apply for a job, I didn't. Right? Bad behavior practices were set into motion that day.
Wow.
Right? After that, I joined a travel company called Head Out. And I think Head Out operates over here. I'm not sure. Like when I was there,
I don't know.
when I used to work, because we used to do a little bit of Canada. I'm pretty certain they're a ticketing services company, right?
Okay.
So
I haven't heard of them yet here, but
I'm not
that's
sure
something we
if
could
they're here.
think
we should
about
take a
later.
look
Yeah.
at that.
Search on that, yeah.
But the idea with Head Out was they sort of resell tickets to events and museums, parties, stuff like that. So stuff like anything touristy, Head Out, right? That's the idea
Okay.
behind the company. And anything that was ticketed, you could buy your tickets there. They had the best deals, best offers. And they had a lot of like very incredible software tech integrations. It was more of a tech travel company than a travel company, right? So I got into that part because Bangalore, everything is tech.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
right?
we both are from Bangalore, by the way.
Yeah,
Even
we-
with that, we did not mention. So I think it's turning out to be a pretty cool podcast already. So yeah.
Yeah, so I got into Head Out. It was like very travel, and then I was writing first, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's when I first learned the principles of SEO and content writing. What is good, what sells, what is used to not sell.
Mm-hmm.
Because not every content piece is used to sell.
Yeah.
Some of it is used for other purposes. So I started learning all these things early on. I used to work very closely with their marketing team as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, this feels nice, man. I should sort of get into marketing, right? But I still hadn't come there. When I was still researching and writing as a living, then I was at some point, I didn't know what happened. I was like, you know what, screw all this. Decided to start my own freelance practice first.
Mm-hmm.
It was very good because I had like a lot of clients in the healthcare journalism space. Head Out itself became my client after that, and a bunch of other companies became my clients.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of website work, right? So that was my first foray into website development, getting it. And this is 2015 again, 2015ish, 2016. So pretty early on, got into that website space because I already had some experience with SEO. I had an idea of some of the other things. So then I got into like UX, UI. I got into back end, all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I was like, you know what, guys, I've done freelance. Time to start my own company because that's the next logical step, right?
So when you were doing freelance, you still did not feel like you were running even a sole partner
Yeah.
entrepreneurship kind of a
There's definitely
company.
a slight feeling of a entrepreneur, like the solo entrepreneur thing is there.
Okay.
But the thing is, as a solo entrepreneur, there's only so much scale you can bring to your projects.
Yeah.
Right? Because the thing is, when you grow, you as a solo entrepreneur, your chance of working with brands like Holiday IQ, AirAsia,
Mm-hmm.
Decathlon, all that is pretty low, right?
Yeah.
Because
Credibility in a way also,
Yeah.
I feel, yeah.
and that's what happened when we started Open Door, right? We worked with these brands. We worked with Holiday IQ, Decathlon. We worked with AirAsia. We worked with a bunch of other people. Again, it feels lost in the time right now, right? Did a lot of stuff. So that way I got to talking with a lot of like business founders, got to like getting into that mindset of what they really expect from marketing, from content, how they see audiences,
Wow.
what their perceptions of their crowds were.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, like a year of running that, I realized, shit, I have no idea how to run a business. Right? Because it's very different to run a business than freelance or be a solo entrepreneur. Because being a solo entrepreneur is relatively easier than running a company. There's far more. And again, we were kids back then, dude. We were like, what, 24, maybe 23? Somewhere 23, 24, I'd say. This is where we were. And you have a lot of ego. You're like, oh, I know that, I know this. And that was like pretty early on in the business life. Then I joined IA. Right? And here's how I joined IA. I was like, dude, I'm thinking of quitting my company, and I quit.
Okay.
Right? I used to stay in Indranagar. That's where our office was.
Yeah.
I had gone to meet a friend at Diamond District, and I was waiting outside. Right? And there was a third friend, you know Achal, right?
Yeah.
So Achal basically walks out of Diamond District. And
Okay.
I'm like, what are you doing here? Because I know Achal stays on the other end of the city.
Uh,
It's like, oh, bro, I work here at this place called IA. He's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, oh, I'm waiting for our third friend. He's like, oh, even they're here. Okay, cool. I'm like, so what kind of company is this? What do you do? Right? Because I know Achal from back in the day because him and his sister and I used to work together.
okay.
Right? When I said I used to be a healthcare journalist, Achal's sister used to more or less manage me and the team of writers as well, along with a few other people. And Achal was basically like, oh, dude, I work in marketing, this, that. And I was like, oh, you know what? I am looking for work. And he's like, dude, I'm going to recommend you tomorrow. 2 days later, I'm meeting Basit, and next week I'm at IA.
Yeah.
So that's
That was a good thing about IA too. I think it was very quick.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah.
and that's, I think, a part of the agency lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like, stuff is very quick, right? It moves way
Most
too
of the time.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be, I will say, to that level as well.
Yeah.
And this is more or less the third proper job I've had. 2 of them I've never applied for, except Head Out. But at this point, I've not applied for one job. Both of them have sort of...
You just walk in and it comes to you. Yeah.
Right? So, after that, the moment COVID happened was pretty much the exact day I quit IA.
Okay.
Right? Because the thing that we were seeing in the market also was before and slightly... we kind of knew COVID's coming and there would be a lockdown maybe a week before. So the conversation was already happening in this part of the world because they sort of got impacted a little earlier about data democratization and how do we move so much data around. How do we make data more transparent? Right? And the moment that happened, I was like, holy Lord, I don't really need to be at a big agency anymore. Because one of the things working in a big agency is you have access to incredible data-led insights. Right? That is mad. What you can do with some of these data points, just because this agency or this company has so many subscriptions to different things.
Yeah.
In COVID, everything became sort of,
Yeah,
hey,
easy
it's
to-
there, available free online. And I was
Yeah.
like, yes, right? So pretty much most of the reason I had for working in a company went. And I was doing my own business again for the next year and a half. Then I joined another place called Media Medic,
Yeah.
right? Which was as a consultant. I used to work very closely with the CEO of my company, and I had like most of my job functions were to do with new client acquisition,
Okay.
business strategy, and marketing strategy. Right?
Oh.
That's where I learned the difference between where sales and marketing is really overplay.
Hmm.
Because in India, usually healthcare is a very difficult field to really get your feet into. And I've learned some incredible things with my experience in healthcare, because it's the most human thing, I would say, right? Because when you work on stuff like Alzheimer's, or when you work on stuff like cancer awareness, you're just like, you feel good.
Yeah.
Right? It's way better than, hey, do you want to buy this car?
Yeah.
Which
any
is
day.
what we were doing in IA.
Yeah.
Right? Do you want to buy this car? Do you want to buy this internet? Do you want to buy this? Do you want to buy that?
Anything, whatever you can think of.
Yeah, anything we sold. Right? It was a huge company. And it eventually ended up being me working here. And the only reason I sort of took that job was because I knew I was going to come here. And I knew I wanted to travel for a year and a half. So I did like a 1.5 year road trip, 2-year road trip across the country. And I needed money for that.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason I joined another company. And so far in this country, everyone tells me that getting a job is hard.
Yeah.
Which is why I started my own business.
So cool.
Because I was just like, yeah, it's definitely not my cup of tea, right? So that's sort of who I am. And I also have like a bunch of other podcasts. One of them is about culture conversations in Vancouver, because one of the things that I keep bringing up is I am tired of hearing conversations about diversity.
Yeah. It's
Let's
a very
do-
easy use word, like
Yeah,
everywhere.
Let's actually
be diverse.
Yeah, let's be
Let's do
diverse,
it.
right? Which is what one of the podcasts is about. It's, hey, let us talk to people of different countries. There's very interesting lessons in behavior science over here. Like, if you don't know something, you're more likely to view it negatively,
Yeah.
right? And that's not
True.
a bad thing. That's just your protective instinct,
Hmm.
right? If you don't know something and you look at it positively, you have no protective instinct. That's not gonna happen. So the
Yeah.
only way to like counter that is sort of to learn. Right? And I've had some good conversations there. I speak about mental health and emotional health, and how do you really talk about it on another podcast. A bunch of other stuff is also happening in life.
So cool.
So that's a little bit about me, which I feel like has gone on for quite a while.
Yeah,
so.
it's gone on for quite a while, and I think we did not cover what our hobbies are. So I would just we'll keep it very short. Don't worry, we're not going to bore you more. I like photography. I've got into gaming, so I'm doing that. You know it very well. Reading books in a way, just trying to inculcate that kind of habit and travel. So these 3 or 4 are most top ones. I could have a bunch more, but these 4 really keep me awake at night if I had to.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, pretty much the exact same. Travel, mountain climbing, hiking, scuba diving, all of it.
Okay.
Reading, yes. Read more books a year than movies or shows I watch, because couldn't be bothered with the screen. Games, board games and video games.
Yeah.
Bring it on anytime.
Yeah, board games something I want to get into. More when I was growing up I did, but maybe a decade more now not been into it.
Maybe this is something you're going to enjoy, right?
Yeah.
In some of the exercises, we're going to use principles and concepts from board games.
Oh yeah, don't tell them. We are going to
Oh,
think
yeah.
about.
Oh,
we
sorry.
are going to talk about that more in the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I think the next question to like really bring up, right, and to address as well is why we want to do this podcast.
Oh yeah.
Right? So why don't you go first?
Oh, you want me to go first? Okay. I think we were thinking. I think we had a conversation. Me and Sharjeel have been speaking about it for quite some time now, and then I know that he has been doing more podcasts. So for me, it's pretty new. But again, until you don't try it, you don't know. I think that's the whole principle I follow, and you just got to try and put yourself into it. Why we are doing it is because I think we have seen a lot of marketing podcasts, but they have a lot of technical terms, which is great to have. Like, you go for an interview tomorrow, or you're working as a strategist for a company, say a multinational company or a big corporation. You don't know those words. People are going to think, why are you hired? But to be honest, all those are only in the courses and the books, but in real world, those words need to have some meaning. And I think that's what we are trying to break through. We are trying to make it like, look at this setting now. This is my home terrace, and we don't have a studio. We don't have anything. With minimal amount of investment we had to make, we just started this podcast. I think we are just having a conversation as two ex-colleagues, good friends, and just trying to learn more. And so for us, I think why is the thing is like make it easy so that while we are enjoying, we want our audience to enjoy more. Like I think
Yep.
that's very important. Like because if we have been seeing a lot of podcasts on YouTube on different platforms. Of course, we have done some research. We wouldn't jump into something without knowing anything.
Part of marketing.
Exactly. So yeah, this is a market research 101. So we did that, and we have seen everywhere the setting is very like, oh wow, if you don't have a studio, you cannot do it. I've seen Sharjeel recording podcasts sitting on at a park, talking to someone continents away, and then still doing a good job about it. And our aim is to record something and bring it out as soon as possible, because we're going to follow that rule where distribution is the main king. Like I think we're going to do that. Content is part of it, but how we distribute is very important. So yeah, that's a bit about why we want to do it.
Yep. And I will also add another point, which is I am the more boring person on this podcast, people. Let's be very clear.
No.
He's the more interesting one. I'm the boring, wordy word person, right? Because I have words.
So we're going to keep the balance that way,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
So Shantanu's job largely, if you find me too boring, tell him. Right, it's not my problem. It's his. But the thing that I study a lot. I'm a very big nerd that way. I do a lot of readings, a lot of research, and one of the things I've studied a lot of courses in marketing, and I continue to study as well. The thing is, most people, the courses that the way they're structured and the way marketing is taught, it's very specific to a particular style. I would say like SEO has a particular style to it. UI UX has a particular style. SEM, different thing.
Product
Social,
marketing.
Product, everything is different, right?
Yeah.
So once you've studied all of these, you realize, oh Lord, where do I even begin? Right? Because everyone wants to do different things, and when you get hired for the job, it's a little different.
Yeah.
So what I've realized is most of the courses, and there's the universal truth to the 80-20 rule, which is 20% of what you do gets you 80% of the result. This is true of marketing as well, right? And all the courses out there, most of them are super incredible.
Yeah.
We will never be able to design a better SEO course or a better AdWord course.
And we don't want to. I think because
we don't want to, right?
There's something out there which is so good, we don't really want to fight over it or work on it. So yeah.
Exactly. So we decided to sort of flip it, where we kind of want to talk about the 80% of things that bring you the additional 20%. So this is where this podcast, this marketing thing is a little bit more about culture. It's about anthropology, it's about semiotics, it's about linguistic, it's about language theory, it's about color theory. There's a bunch of other factors, right, where we go into behavioral science, like so much so that one of the sections we have coming up later, it's all about behavior science, where we talk about particular human things. And we really want to focus in on those parts of marketing, because right now, pretty much, I'll be also honest and say anybody can do SEO.
Yeah.
Right? Not
ChatGPT
everybody.
would.
Not everybody can do marketing.
Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
So we are somehow losing out on the essence of marketing, according to me, in a very technical space.
Yeah.
And that's sort of why I want to take this direction. It's not like you guys are not going to be learning some very technical things, or it's not like we won't be learning ourselves. Because we ourselves will be learning, right? One of the things we're going to go over at some point is the cultural cartography map.
Yeah.
It's super cool.
It's
Lots
super
to
cool,
learn over there as well. But fundamentally, the idea is we want to take it beyond just, hey, marketing, performance, hey, ad, hey, creative, hey, visual. It's a lot more. It's about culture, and that's what we're moving, I think, in that direction.
So I think the last point I want to make is, I think why is we are not doing step-by-step guide to be a great marketer, because I think everyone in their own space could be one. Like if you have something of your own, if you're working at somewhere, the way you think itself could be a marketer, essence of a skill set of being a marketer. But what we are trying to achieve here also in a way is the design thinking, I think, which folks normally think is more about product development or research. But no, I think design thinking should be everyday walk of life too. When you're when you're thinking as a design, even the most generic thing in life, like when you're cooking, for example, you have been a chef. Of course, for you it's very different, it's artistic. But for me, if I want to make a sandwich,
trust me, it's more functional for me than it
Now?
is for.
But
No,
when you were
even as a
initial-
chef, right?
Okay.
It's way more functional. Because the artistic element is just presentation at the end. The
Yeah.
food still has to taste very freaking good.
Yeah, that's true. but for me, what I was coming to the point is, say I want to make a sandwich, and there are ways to make a different kind of a same sandwich in a different way. So I think that's where my design thinking could be like, how do I really cut those vegetables nicely? Because it's just not about the looks; it's also about how it functionally comes together as a sandwich. Because if it's a thicker slice, it's not going to fit in well, and it's going to all drop around. So. Just a very weird example, and we did not. It's not scripted at all, but I think that's what we're thinking. It's ours is more
if
like.
somebody thought that example was scripted, they are not going forward beyond this second. Like, what scripted example?
Yeah. So I think that's what it's going to be design led. Like I also spoke about, like, we are not going to use terminology or glossaries as they say. He just used color signs, and it all went over my head. But I think what he really wants to come to is, like, we are going to work on designing how these help you to think better. I think that's all the whole point is.
Yes.
I think nothing else.
How you have to start thinking in marketing. That. See? So much better. And
do you want to just check the recording now?
Just we'll give it a check. Because, wait, I think, we have another minute. Oh, yeah, actually, just give it a check. Because, guys, we also know.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. This is Shantanu's camera, right?
Yeah.
And Shantanu mentioned he's never recorded more than 20-30 minutes.
Yeah.
I have. Right? And I know that there's usually a break on most cameras that stop.
So we have 2 more minutes, so it's okay.
Yeah.
We can continue.
So we're still not sure if the camera does that.
Yeah.
So if it does that, we'll figure it out. We'll start another recording. But let's just let's move on to basically the why of it. We've spoken about.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the kind of things that we want to do, right? Which is between both of us, we have a working Excel sheet. Because guys, you will not believe this, but unfortunately, Excel wins the Microsoft suit battle. It is far too useful. Like MS Word, I used to love Word, dude. I'd be like, everything on Word, everything on presentation. Right now, I'm just like, put on Excel, get it done.
Yeah, or Canva.
Okay.
Which you are doing a pretty good job in it, and I think that's why Canva got so much of recognition, right? It made these kind of tools which looked very tough to understand. Like, I think it was a skill set to be making a good presentation, but now it's more about, again, it goes to design and thinking. Like, how you think to make a presentation is far valuable than the visuals, because visuals can be done by any platform you're using. So
pretty much.
But yeah, going back to the Excel, so we have a sheet and
the sheet, right? And we have different columns in the sheet. So just to let you guys know, we have what the first column is basically called key activities or fun activities, whatever it's called, activities. I just added a word before that. But those include things like the brand model canvas, cultural cartograph, and a bunch of other things as well, right? These, I would say, are meant as exercises, right? These are not 100%. This is exactly it, because every business, every brand is different, and we're using one standard sort of template, right, to really build off of. We may change it however we want.
Exactly, and it's going to be learning. So I think when we were thinking about this, this conversation came up, like, okay, do we need to be prepared for this, or how it's going to be? Because if we are doing a podcast, we better add value to our audiences, like folks like you. Like, when you come in, you're not like completely lost like us, but that's the fun. I think all of us are going to be lost together, and then we'll find one particular point where we'll be like, okay, we are going to do the exercise, we have the examples with us, we are going to work it. It's going to be a working model in a way, I would say, and I think that's going to be super cool. We are excited to do that.
I think that's the bit that Shantanu and I are most excited about, because we both get to learn a lot in that as well, right? It's not like we have not maybe applied some of these things before, but just the fact that doing it each and every time. Like recently I signed a client and we did the business model canvas yesterday. Right? It was just a very good exercise, and I am helping them with essentially website and social media.
Okay.
But just to get to website and social media and product sales and understanding product, I need to have a very firm understanding of the business.
Yeah, true.
Right? So I think that's one of the things that we really want to address, right? Because sometimes marketing begins at a brief level and not at a business level.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that really annoys me. And I'm like, first, don't give a brief. Tell me about your business first.
Yeah.
Then we will come to the brief. But especially in agencies and in other parts, you just get a brief, man. Like, you're somehow supposed to understand everything from their business based on a website that they themselves are trying to improve.
And the funny part is the word he said is brief. If something is so brief about something, you run a business, say you're in different industry, and how am I able to think like head out, as you said? It's a travel. You said it's ticketing platform, but it could be a way different ticketing platform, right? So a brief wouldn't say what the platform is. It would just say I need X number of users to go through this campaign, and this say Taylor Swift's show is coming up. I want to sell 1 million tickets for all the cities in the country. But that doesn't give me anything about Header. What is different about you?
Yep.
Because if I knew about the business and there's different ways we could market it or talk about it, we would do it that way. Like, you already have some assets of brand loyalty out there. The ones who have been buying through you, there could be different ways to reach out to them versus just thinking that way. So you put a really valid point. Like, they need to tell you first what they do.
Exactly, right? And that's what, like, that's why, like, I prefer consulting than working in an agency. I'll be honest, because I'm just like, this is, to me, I don't even charge that much.
Yeah.
Right? But at least I can make sense of what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things. And that sort of is a good way to, like, sort of really speak about some of our own beliefs and things that we've seen. Right? One of the other things that sort of really annoys me is really not defining the scope of work of marketing well. Right? Like, to me, marketing just has 3 jobs, I will say. With the first one being increasing brand awareness.
Yeah.
Or even increasing product awareness.
Yeah.
Both of this marketing can do. The second one is building brand/product loyalty.
Yeah.
The third one, which I think is where most disagreements happen, is conversions.
Yeah.
Right? I think marketing's job is to push people towards conversion.
Yeah.
It is not to convert.
Yeah.
Right? And in many cases, people assume that is marketing's job. Why are my leads not converting?
Yeah.
I'm like, my job is to get you lead. It is not to get your lead to convert.
But I think it's also the industry and the perspective about, like, for example, if you're working with a performance marketing firm, the word itself says their job is to get you good quality leads. But I think where I'm seeing a kind of a shift right now in some of the firms is, instead of click per cost, they say CPC, click per cost. Right now they're talking about per acquisition of a
CPA.
customer, which I think is a better metric. CPC
Way
should
better.
just be removed, I feel, because I could probably, maybe some of us in the world have already done this, is like randomly clicked on a website's ad just to make them earn money because we like the blogger, for example. Right?
A blogger. Okay, cool.
For anything, any website, right? So, but you did not intend to buy the product at all. So there was no point a company should have paid that publisher or the performance marketing agency for that leads.
Yep.
But as you said, conversion. So it still comes as performance marketing, but has a true marketer, someone who's end to end thinking about, as you said, 3 steps: brand awareness, product awareness or / loyalty, and the conversion. I wouldn't be really bothered about conversion at the end, because if those first 2 things what you spoke about or what we spoke about is already true, the third one will organically happen. It's not going to, like, you give them $500 a discount, like, say, or we talk in dollars because in Canada, let's say we give $100 discount, but if the product is still $1,500 after that, $100 is not going to do anything for that. So that's the way I think. And
fully, right? And so much so that I was reading something about messaging right the other day, and somebody was able, again, this is by Les Binet and the research team, basically emotional messaging versus rational messaging, right? They gave off a bunch of stats about it. There was only one interesting one in that to me.
Okay.
It said that the effectiveness of rational, again, I'll put a link to this if I find that post. It was on my LinkedIn. But if I remember correctly, what it said was the effectiveness of rational messaging to get new leads is 27%.
Okay.
The effectiveness of getting leads during emotional messaging is also 27%. So on getting new leads, it really, your messaging is not what's like key apparently, right? It can be rational or emotional. Where the difference is built is in the loyalty, it's in the fandom, it's in all of those other places.
Yeah.
And another thing I keep giving people an example of when it comes to building a brand as such, right, is, hey, which car do you drive? And most likely you get a car like Toyotas, or you get
Hyundai,
like the more affordable end of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
You ask the same people what car brands they follow. It is not the brands that they own.
Not at all.
Right? So, what is my job in marketing?
Yeah.
Right? At the end of the day,
I think it's to find that why and what. I think more than why is more like what. Wow, we have the sun god falling on us. But yeah, thank you. But yeah, it's true. What you just said, like that example is super cool. Like, for example, I have a Hyundai, but the only time I think about that brand is when I want to change the car, right?
Yeah.
That I don't want a Hyundai maybe in the future, and there's nothing against the brand. It's just like my thinking. But what brands I follow is probably, of course, Tesla and BMW and the Porsche of the world.
Yep.
And yeah, and it's true that as a marketer, if you were working for Porsche, would you still? I would still market the one who's buying a Hyundai probably, because someday, because that's where you're getting the brand loyalty. They're not bought the car. And again, we are just screwing up the definitions. I feel we are not really going by the books the way this podcast has been going.
By the books is
By the books is we don't
happening.
believe in books. I think we only
No, we
Kindle.
believe in good books. Don't say that. We don't believe in SEO based terminology of marketing terms.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's all that is. Like whatever you read. In fact,
true.
that's one of the things that I do want to bring up, because I've mentioned SEO, which is research. Right? And how research is done. Most people really mess up research in marketing, at least. Let's just go before we get into marketing research.
Before we get into that, should we check the recording?
Yeah, we should. But you can check. I'll continue speaking.
Yeah, go ahead.
But one of the things that I really want to like talk about research is, most people, for example, if you're trying to search about which headphone or which whatever, that's a very low quality kind of search. It doesn't really matter too much because you'll get a lot of products. If
I'm
you're
back.
trying to find something about, say, cars, right? Or if you're trying to find something about mobiles, what most people would do is top 10 mobiles under your budget.
Yeah.
Which is a fair way to look at it, but a better way to do it is first find out who is an expert on talking about mobiles.
Yeah.
Right? So your first search should always be who is the expert here.
Okay.
And then sort of go into what the expert has to say. Because that's where SEO really messes up. Right? Usually experts don't really care about SEO as much as businesses do. And businesses, the larger ones, sort of have more money. So if you were to even figure out how to write a marketing blog, right, I will guarantee you the top 9 pages are very similar. Right? Because everyone copies that query from whoever has ranked 1. Right? Whoever's ranked 1, the rank 2 is very close to that. Rank 3 is a little bit closer, it's like a little further away, 4 is a little further, everything is compared to that.
It's just shifting a bit, one step at a time.
Yeah, everything, you're using rank 1 as the baseline standard to compare the other pages. That's why it's ranked 1. It's not the highest quality.
Yeah.
It's rank 1.
But
this is
folks take it as the best quality, right?
Folks
That's
take
what
it as, it may be the best quality. Right? There's no denying that as well. It may be the best quality depending on the nature of the search. But it is not a good way to research and get many opinions. Which is sort of like a personal grievance I have, as well as Google getting rid of the page system and moving to endless scroll.
Yeah.
Because what I would do is, I would search something and then open one article from each of the first 10 pages. Right? I'd open all the 10 pages, because the difference between rank 1 and rank 80 is very much so, especially in SEO terms.
Yeah.
But in quality, you might find that the thing that's on page 7 and ranked 76th is actually the best written article. Or is the most well presented form. Right? So there are instances where that might happen as well. Now I think that it's a little annoying for me in terms of research, because you're just like endless scrolling. I'm like, dude, I really want a different opinion.
Yeah.
And you end up search, and here's what I keep telling people about research. Most people find it easier to change the search than go to page 2.
So true. Yeah.
So you're more likely to change.
I think Google has made us lazy. I think when we were studying, we both, and I think we were learning, the research really meant research. Like, dude, you never got answers in like one instance. And then, of course, today I envy the kids who have ChatGPT. I think they are, if the tool is used right. Again, I don't know if I'm going off topic or no, but it really saves you time on the research. As I said, like, it probably gives you better quality, I feel, because it just goes through a lot more research sources than just Google. And also it has, they dated, like if this research is from, say, October 2023. So it tells you that too. So you also know what information you're getting. Is either it's new or it's old. So that way your research becomes much more quality-wise, much better, more refined. So
AI is honestly, in marketing, we've been using it forever.
Yeah, we have always been.
Forever.
Like and push SMS or something in that way, if you go.
That
or
is
put
also
push note. They're AI because they did not, the publishers of the apps or websites did not need to know when you're seeing the screen, but they had to understand when is the right time to do it. That's again AI.
Exactly, right?
Data
and
plus AI,
I absolutely love the fact that we are talking about some of these things already, because I really endorse AI in marketing as a field. What I am not the biggest fan of is using AI to do the most intricate tasks in marketing. Like trying to understand behavior and thinking that, oh, you know what? Let us use ChatGPT over here, right? And we'll figure out best marketing campaign. I'm like, dude, how did you...
That has to come from within first, from what you have experienced.
You have to understand the business first. You have to understand the customers. You have to do all of this. One of my... in fact, like this was something I was talking with somebody else the other day. They wanted to do a project for a particular community, right? And we, when I was talking to them, they were like, "Oh, we did our research. We found this." And I'm like, "Dude, did you talk to anybody from that community? Because right now it looks like you've done research." Right? And they're like, "Oh no, we never spoke to anybody from there." I'm like, "That's the first thing to do."
So they haven't done something called, like, it wouldn't be again this right definition, but something I believe is actionable research, where you kind of action on the research first, go out to those sources and figure out. So probably they did the surface kind of level of research, right?
And you're just like, I don't get how you think the research you've done is actually useful, because there's no way that I think this is correct, right? Because in my brain, sometimes now with like looking at it after 10 years, you immediately see irregularities, right? You're like, something about this doesn't make sense, and that's what prompted the question. And my brain just went, what? How did you think this was reasonable? And another thing to really consider in the AI space, because this is a brand and marketing conversation, is protecting your brand, right? I'm not the biggest fan of using ChatGPT in particular, or some of these more AI tools that work on loss prediction models that don't offer any brand security tools or brand safety tools, right? Because these tools are very important. Now, I do believe that a lot of companies and businesses are going to start developing their own content AI models, which sticks a lot closer to their brand tone, brand language, this, that. Right? So now when you generate AI based, it's all done properly. That's, I think, the next evolution a few companies are going to make in terms of content. Right? They're going to build their own AI which fits their tone of voice, which has no external...
I think they're already building it.
They are.
I think Google Bard is going to be a tool. Probably they're going to sell it as maybe a service in the future.
That would be super cool if they do. And it depends on how much brand security I can build into it, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're, for example, let's take two cars, right? A Hyundai will never talk like a Porsche.
True.
Right? You have to build a separate system in itself, because I don't want words from there influencing this. So that's definitely a very interesting thing, I will say. Again, AI is AI, and the sun is out again. Yes.
Oh wow,
yeah. People, you should know that in Vancouver, at this time of the year, we don't really get the sun a lot. It's a little chilly as
Vancouver is famously called, because I've been here more than him. It's famously called Raincouver. So do a Google search or ChatGPT will have the answers. I think one of the only cities in the world which does it. Of course, we are grateful for having this fresh air and the water, considering parts of the world don't even get a drop of water. But yeah, sometimes it gets to your nerve, I feel. Just like sunny days are... That's why I think we just chose to record this today. First day, one podcast, first recording.
This is like blessing from God. Like if you were to like think of a movie analogy, right? We're like, oh, we'll record today. Haven't seen the sun in so long. Suddenly,
is it the creator storyline we're talking about? Like, is it that? No, I don't know. It's a different tone.
No. This is we could say that. Like it's building up to that.
Building up to that, right?
Yeah. Let's just hope it doesn't go falling back down.
So what next? So we were talking about
any other beliefs or philosophies that.
So what about the 4 Ps? The price, product.
Very important. But is that the job of marketing again?
Like I think it gives you...
Is that the job of marketing to Dude, like, yeah, product, price, all of these are very important things. There's no
Hmm.
denying that, right? You, at the end of the day, wait, where's my sentence? I have a sentence where I actually address some of these things.
Mhm.
But the gist of that sentence is basically you can convince people for A or B reason.
Yeah.
You might be able to influence them using P and Q.
Mhm.
You might be able to do whatever you want, and you'll never be able to make sense of why a human being did it.
Yeah.
But people buy with their wallet,
True.
right? That is a concluding statement.
Universal truth. Let's say.
If you
Yeah.
don't have the money, you cannot buy it.
Yeah.
You might have a credit card and be like, oh,
Exactly.
I
I
got
was
you
just
on a
going there,
technicality.
or you could go on the
Yeah.
4-week payment or something.
Whatever,
So why
but
not?
you still
yeah.
assumes you have the money to do it, and to
Yeah.
it's not my job if you think that something is worth sacrificing your entire financial health to buy a product,
Hmm.
right?
True.
That's not something that I really have to think about, because most people are smarter than that. Like, a lot of another sentence that is, a lot of things in life are foolproof, nothing is idiot proof,
Hmm.
right?
Very good.
A
Yeah.
lot of
Makes
things
sense.
in life, like, you just have to be a little careful, but
Yeah.
whatever, right? This country, you see
This
the
gets me to
warnings.
this. Then you spoke about it's not your job to really make sure that the one who's buying something does have the means to buy it. Then just this thought came to mind, right? Do you think then in the way we marketers are evil?
In some sense, it depends on what you're marketing, I'll say.
Hmm.
Right? Like, if I'm trying to put a product in front of you which goes against my personal ethics.
But are
Right,
there
like-
personal ethics in marketing?
There are. Right?
Okay.
There's always personal ethics.
Hmm.
It's different from company ethics. You
Yeah,
ideally
of
want to be working in a situation where
Both
your
align together.
values
Yeah.
align with company values.
Very important, I think,
Right?
from my experiences I've seen.
Yeah, 100%.
Super important. I think say no to the job if you have to, but your ethics aligning together are super duper important.
Yep.
Not just as a marketer, but anything in the world you do.
As
So, yeah.
anything,
Yeah.
right? So you're expecting value alignment to happen already
Mm.
at this particular point. But in marketing, right, there are instances where we don't know why somebody is doing something,
Hmm.
right? For example, how many times in India where you have the jugaad system,
Yeah.
how many times have people bought rope to hang their clothes? They're not
Yeah.
tying anything,
Yeah.
right? You're buying rope to solve a different problem.
True.
Right? So how are we judging why somebody buys something? What they might take out of it?
Hmm.
So what you should truly be looking at is, are you comfortable saying these things, and do you know that these won't cause harm?
Hmm.
Now, and this is, I think, one of my biggest complaints with marketing, especially copywriting and content right now. In marketing, as campaign designers, a lot of us leverage the negative spectrum of emotions quicker.
Oh yeah,
Talk
you were talking about that
FOMO,
once.
right?
Yeah.
FOMO is that you're leveraging fear, you leverage anger, you leverage a bunch of more negative emotions, because those are the easier ones to trigger.
But I would say fear of missing out would the FOMO would really work with the discounting, like Black Friday
Yeah.
sales and things
Black
like those.
Friday, FOMO, dude, you've got a recipe for chaos right there, and a great marketing campaign,
Hmm.
right? Or at least the building blocks for a great marketing campaign.
But don't you see a shift now, because Amazon Prime happens probably 2 to 3 times a year, and sometimes you don't even get to know, and it just happens randomly,
Yeah.
right? So in a way, I'm not having a fear anymore, because I know that in next couple of months I'm going to have another sale.
True.
So I would say this kind of understanding has kind of changed in last 3-4 years. It's very recent, so right, we still don't have the data to really put my foot down and say, hey, wait, I'm right. Putting that kind of discounting of FOMO, like right now in India, is Diwali sale, which is
Yeah,
happening next month.
I would also say, like, we can't look at these events in isolation of global economics or local economics, at least.
Okay.
Like, if you were to look at it within the context of, say, Canada, where the economy is going down at the moment on
Mhm.
purpose,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you missed out a sale because guess what? You don't have money, right?
True.
So it's different.
But
right?
though Canada right now has the most, they have fought the inflation really
Yeah.
amazingly, and comes when you compare to any other countries. So that's very interesting, because I think I was seeing a podcast last night, like I think, and they were talking about consumption metrics, which have changed drastically
Mm.
this year, and what is showing, and this was more for India, right? It was not for Canada. But again, it doesn't matter. I think you learn marketing from any region in the world, because it's the universal truth the same. Is that consumption is just going down, but in some cases going up also.
Yep.
Like they're
In
different
some
categories, and there's no
industries.
reason right now for that for folks to understand. Middle class or upper middle class is expanding in India, of course, so they are kind of investing more. But yeah, it was very interesting to understand that, okay, wait, people are trying their best. The best marketers in the world are trying their level best to sell, but consumption is going down. So I think, as you said, right, it comes to a point like you cannot force someone to buy something if they don't have the means to buy it. So
Yep. And
So I
if you're
think-
being tight on your wallet,
yeah,
and in fact, guys, I think maybe next week or the week after, I'm gonna draw out like a football field representation of what all of these concepts and how this really plays together. Think of it as a map of marketing philosophy. We'll get into that later.
Mhm.
But largely, yes, right? And there's also, like, when you study economics, you learn that there's a difference between a necessity and a luxury good.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And you start thinking of, oh, what kind of consumption is going down? What kind of consumption is going up? And you also look at the fact that people have reached the point where slow consumption is actually more prominent now.
No.
And a lot of people are also buying local.
Yeah.
A lot more people are also into do it yourself, make it yourself kind of activities.
Yeah.
Right, so I would say, for example, I know a few of my friends. They've started their own soap making business
Wow.
in back in Bangalore,
Mm-hmm.
and they pretty much sell only on Instagram. Right, that's not to say that less people in Bangalore are having a shower. Right,
Yeah.
that's not. But people are
Hopefully
buying lesser
not.
soap.
Yeah.
Right, because some of them are buying from these very, hey, that's my friend, that's my neighbor.
Yeah.
So I'd say,
And in Canada, I think you might have already noticed they have a big thing here called Shop Local, and it's province based, so and also city based. So even in city area based, so you're like, look, if it's Vancouver, there is Burnaby, the neighboring cities, and there's Surrey, and there's New Westminster, and a lot of other places. So they always a lot of folks here are trying to buy local, even if it's going to cost them $5 extra for the same product. They just like to kind of not buy it from the big corporation like
Yeah.
Costco and Walmart, which is fair.
which
I
is
think
fair.
people are getting
Yeah,
more
totally
choices,
fair.
and yeah.
It's consumption, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, what all consumption is also important to address is, take COVID and what it did to the entire behavioral patterns of human beings. Right?
Mm.
We just sort of realized we kind of don't need a lot.
Yeah, it's a systematic shift, like
Yeah.
generational. It's like a it's
It was
not easy words to put in, but yeah, it was.
it was something.
Yeah, it was something.
It was something. But oh man, like, I think that's a great note to sort of move from this particular part to
Yeah.
like somewhere towards the end,
Yeah.
where we kind of just want to talk about a little bit of our personal agendas as well, because again, transparency and all of that
Yeah.
jazz. So I'm gonna go first on this one.
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Which is, I used to teach marketing as well. I've conducted workshops,
Mm-hmm.
and this is like in the digital marketing spectrum, right? From writing, design, all the way till how do you plan for the campaign and how do you plan for the business, like
Mhm.
ad planning and marketing planning. Maybe 6-9 months down the line, that's something I want to get back into as well.
Okay.
Because right now, I'm still in college, right? I
Yeah.
just got to this country like 3.5, 4 months ago-ish now. I was allowed to do my own business from 3-4 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I started. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
been like a very
Yeah.
kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? And that's something that I definitely want to get into, where I go more into workshops, I get more into speaking about marketing, get into that position of almost practice leadership,
Mm.
right? Where this is the correct marketing practices, not like LinkedIn top marketing was. Oh my
Ugh.
God, no, not that nonsense, right? I
Yeah.
can't be bothered with putting 25 posts every month and putting perspectives on. Oh man,
On
Dude,
generic life changing
on
movements.
not just that, like I saw some silly thing of how do you use humor in a brand. I'm like, why is this something that people are having a proper, meaningful conversation about?
Yeah.
Right, a joke.
I think
not
the
what-
intention
worst part.
intention is right. I feel it's just that it could be better put as a, hey, I'm running a knowledge transfer series. Or I just want to give back
Yeah.
to the community now. Maybe that way, but just randomly putting a post without has this agenda, right? Like, what is it bringing other than impressions and likes? It doesn't really
Yep.
help. So
I
yeah.
honestly also don't think everyone's opinion should be taken equally.
yeah,
Right? I want to be one of those people whose opinion is sort of taken unequally, saying he said it, it might be true, more true than some random person on LinkedIn said it.
Mm.
Right? I really want to get into that space, and I
Mhm.
think that I'm moving in that direction where I'm really trying to not try to sound cocky, but just learn a lot more.
Mhm.
And that's why I want to do more of these exercises as well.
yeah,
Right? That's why I want to talk about some of the little technical things, simply because I want to also show people that, oh, this idiot actually knows this.
Mm.
Because my biggest problem in life currently is I am 20 8 years old. I don't look 28. Dude, like, there's been times where I just genuinely have been like, I should get white hair and I'll get more clients. Because people look at me, they're like, "Bachcha."
But don't folks want people who are younger now?
For social media, maybe.
Mhm.
Maybe for
But not for
some
strategies.
not for business and brand strategy, right? Because over the last few
Interesting.
years, I will say I've moved not out of marketing,
Hmm.
but if marketing is its own playground,
Hmm.
then business is the city the playground is in,
Yeah.
right? So I'm in between both of them right now, and I'm moving closer towards business as well,
Mhm.
because I've been doing so much of my own business,
Yeah.
right? So I have
Makes
to
sense.
think about some of these things as well.
Mhm.
But most of my businesses are in marketing or help in marketing, right? So there's
Okay.
a lot more of this going on too, and it's also very different because my clients right now, Dubai-based, India-based, and US-based. Dude, like, the biggest problem in my life is time zone management.
Oh yeah. It's
Because
going
when
to be tough.
people are like, okay, let's do this at 7 o'clock. I'm like, 7 o'clock? Whose time? First tell me that. Right? I'm like,
Always choose your time. I think
Yeah,
that's the
but-
easiest way to figure out. But yeah.
right now, my clients are paying me, so I'm okay
Yeah.
listening to their times as well.
And if they're not listening to the podcast, that's great. If they are,
They most
forget
likely
what I
are.
said. So yeah.
They most likely are. And yeah, that's pretty much what my personal agenda is. So
Okay.
why don't we share yours and...
Yeah, mine is. I think that I'll put it in two buckets. The first one is learning. I always wanted to learn more about marketing, and I have seen a lot of videos. I've done a lot of bunch of courses. I'm trying to learn more. I follow a lot of marketing campaigns. I share with you a lot of things visually appealing or which are really drastically change things. But now I think we are going to do that in this podcast. I think I'm learning how to do a podcast right now. Going to learn how to edit. We will know what the bloopers we did today after the recording. I know one already which I have not shared with you. It's interesting. You will know it soon. So
what did I do?
I not you.
Oh,
It was me.
oh,
So that's one. But yeah, learning. So just getting the credibility, as you said, right? Like if I want to start, because there's no set age to start what you want to. I always wanted to do something of my own. Maybe this could be one where we learn through each other and we make this into probably a future prospective business strategy plus a really solid marketing agency which has a very honest
no starting
transparency.
agency, dude. No, not. I've done that once in my life. I'm not doing it again.
Okay, we're going to call it strategy making in bracket agency for my sake. That, and the second is the knowledge, right? Like I'm sharing some knowledge with you which I have experienced and you're sharing the same. It's a very well known fact that knowledge when shared is the only right way. There's no point having so much of knowledge. That's why you see authors biographies being written, because at least I believe most of the folks don't really want to get that attention, or they don't have that ego that, okay, wait, read about me. They're telling you, except few we could name. There was one which recently came, but starts with E. So, right? But most of the folks, I think they why they agree to a biography is because what can I leave for the next generation?
Yeah.
There is only so much. I could go to so many seminars. I could do so many workshops. I could be in those places at the same time. If I was CEO of a company, I had a $1 billion, trillion dollar company to run. I didn't have time to go to a university and sit there. So people shared knowledge. So I think it's been, and our evolution has happened that way. Folks like our ancestors shared the knowledge.
Yep.
Wright brothers made the aeroplanes, and then today we are flying. You came to Canada through that. So I think knowledge is something that is
To be
important.
honest, the flight tickets were so expensive. At one point, I googled, "Hey, how much does a boat cost?"
Yeah, man.
It
Talk about
turns out
economics.
it's even more expensive.
Yeah, it's very expensive.
Oh Lord.
But yeah, knowledge, I think, and that last bucket, third one is learn by doing. So if you are going to do the exercises, I think we both are going to equally learn. Some of the things which you thought were right, you might think, okay, hey, wait, let's refine this
Exactly.
thought now. That's what. Some of the things which I thought I was amazing at, I'm going to come to the ground and I'm like, dude, yeah, it's okay. I'm going to learn today. So 3 buckets: learning, knowledge, and doing things by action. So, and yeah, create a brand, like folks reach out to us and we can help them out. I think that's going to be a really big win. And the
Also,
money is
like, to
at
that
the
point,
end,
like, I
right?
sort of want to add on that, right? If you know a brand
Oh yeah.
who you want to see us do the exercise with that brand, right? That'd be super awesome as well. Even better if you're like a brand owner
Yeah, please.
and you would like to like just do the exercise with us. I'm not saying pay us, right? We're going to do the exercise anyway. That's gonna happen. So why don't you just like reach out
Yes, please.
in the comments or in the email that we have, and it'd be incredible to just get you folks in as well and do the exercise with you, because that way at least maybe you take something away. So yeah, I definitely want to make that offer out to whoever is interested.
Good pivot, yeah. We had
Yeah.
to cover that, but yeah, that's my personal agenda, and then we'll see how this grows. And we already had some talk about 6 months goal and 9 months from now, which we don't want to talk in this because this is already probably more than an hour
Yeah.
of the podcast.
This is an hour
If
and
the folks are sleeping, they need to get up, I think. But
your
but-
station has arrived, right?
yes,
And
your station has arrived.
as promised, we have under-delivered and not come up with the name of the podcast. This
yes.
is true of every marketing meeting.
Exactly.
This is exactly what happens the first time.
You get into the meeting and like think, okay, today this campaign is going to go live, or the thought is going to come, and then you're 3 weeks after that and you're still on the day one. So
Yep.
I think that's where we are. And are we going to talk about it now, or
No,
what
I
do
think
you
we
think?
should wait for episode 2. Or no, not
Oh,
episode 2, but some of the
The
other stuff
record,
that
yeah,
we're doing.
Yeah.
We can figure it out over there.
And
In
then
fact,
then this episode will already have a name by
yeah,
then.
so when we actually get into like say the slide of the week section, or maybe even the main marketing activity, that'd be like an interesting tangent, because one of the things we want to start off with is if I remember correctly, is features, benefits, that that
benefit,
matrix.
tone and voice.
Yeah, there's a lot more columns to that. And by that point in time, we will most likely have a name already. We have a few working options,
Yeah.
but they're very silly. So we haven't. That's why we didn't sort of finalize them,
Yeah.
right? Because it's like. Quite
And we
bad.
might even talk about biases, right? So
Yeah.
maybe that time we could
So
think.
maybe
But
that
yeah.
time we'll think about the name off camera, because you
Yeah.
guys should be pretty bored right now.
Yeah.
And honestly, at this point, like you should start paying more attention to the background,
Oh yeah.
because it's incredible.
Incredible. Yeah. It's amazing.
But on that note, thank you all so much for listening.
Yeah.
Apologize for going slightly above what we projected. We want to keep these discussions at like an hour,
Yeah.
not more than that. But thank you all so much. It's our first time. We will get better, and we'll get better together. So.
Yes, and the last thing I want to say is also that each of the episodes you're going to see, they're not going to be symmetrical, or they will not have the same pacing or timing. Some of them might be 15 minutes, some of them might be, and that's what, as we spoke in the beginning, this podcast is all about just enjoying ourselves, and when we get bored in a way, we are going to stop. And we will, of course, as a true marketer, we're going to refine from our feedback from a campaign. So yeah, you guys are the better judge. So once
Please
we
tell
hear,
us.
yeah, tell us, and then maybe the next after few episodes we might just change the pace or reduce the duration, or maybe we'll not. I don't know what kind of marketers we are, so we're going to figure that out.
We'll figure it out. Because I'll also say we shouldn't pay attention to all comments.
Yes.
Right? Very important lesson in marketing.
Very,
Don't
very
pay
important.
attention
Listening
to
is
everybody
very important.
equally.
Yeah, everybody's shouting, but you have to listen to the right ones. So yeah, you're going to
Yes.
see that.
On that note,
Awesome.
thank you all.
Thank you so
once
much.
again. Thanks, man.
See you,
and
Sharjeel.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Bye.